To You and the Law, the program where we examine how the law affects our everyday lives, whether it's knowing your rights, understanding your responsibilities, or making sense of the institutions that uphold justice. This is where law meets the people. Perhaps one of the biggest misconceptions many people have is about what happens after someone is arrested. Who decides whether a case goes to court? What role does the police play after investigations are completed? Where does the Attorney General's chambers come in? And how do these institutions work together to ensure justice is done? Today we are exploring one of the least understood but perhaps very important offices within the Gambia Police Force, the Directorate of Prosecution and Legal Affairs. I am Mamudu Mbuj, and joining me today is the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Malang Jarju, who also is the second in command at the Directorate. Commissioner, thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, Mr. Mbuj. How are you?
Oh.
Yes, as you have rightly stated, I am Deputy Commissioner Malang Jarju, the Deputy Commissioner in charge of Police Prosecutions and Legal Affairs Department of the Gambia Police Force.
Thank you very much. So let's just begin. First, we want to understand the office. Many people know the police sort of investigate crimes, but for perhaps fewer understand that the police also have a prosecution and legal affairs directorate. What exactly is your mandate?
Very well, thank you, Mr. Mbuj. The Police Prosecutions and Legal Affairs Department, one of our mandate is to conduct criminal prosecutions. And we also provide legal advice to the Office of the IGP and to the police in general. We also review case files that are investigated by our investigators, the CID, and then we redirect them if there are some gray areas that are observed, or maybe if there are some evidence that are still needed or required in order to prove a case. So those are some of the mandates that we do. We also conduct legal training for police officers, especially station officers and some of the officers who are at station level. So these are some of the things that we do as a prosecutions unit.
That's it. How large is the directorate?
For now, we have a staff of around 106 staffs countrywide. They are all police officers who are prosecuting cases countrywide.
That's it. So do you have lawyers? You have police?
Yes,
lawyers,
very well, very well. You are very right. We have lawyers among the prosecutors. These are trained, officers who are baristas, but we also have officers who are not trained in law, but they have, like, let's say, diplomas in law. Because one of the criteria, of becoming a prosecutor is you must have at least a diploma in law. So that is one of the criteria. But we have lawyers. We have a lot of lawyers in the police as an institution. So in the legal department, we have roughly around 10 lawyers, around 10 to 15 lawyers. Very well.
That's it. So here, though, before we discuss prosecutions, let's understand where the directorate sits within the justice system. Tell us, how does it sit within the broader architecture of justice in the Gambia?
Very well. Our role is very clear. In fact, we are empowered under Section 77 of the Criminal Procedure Act 2025 and Section 28 of the Police Act, which gives us the permission to conduct police prosecutions before subordinate courts. So basically, once files are investigated by the officers, that is the station level or CID level, they forward the files to the prosecution unit. So as a prosecution unit, what we normally do, once files are forwarded to us, we review the file to make sure that the evidence supports the charges. And if we are convinced that the evidence supports the charges, then we draft our charge sheet and then arrange the accused person before a court of law and then prosecute the person. But wherein we review a file and we observe that the evidence is so weak to support the charge, we always refer the file back to the investigators to reinvestigate the gray areas that needs further investigation. So basically, it's like the prosecution is the end result of a criminal, case. That is from the investigators down to the prosecution level. That is the end result. That is to make sure that the person faces justice, to make sure that justice is served.
That's it. So
yes.
How closely do you work with the investigators?
Yeah, we work closely because we coordinate with them, especially when they are investigating complex cases or complex matters. Normally, we guide them as to the evidence that is required or needed in order to establish a particular offense or a crime that has been committed. So that is how we work with them, by making sure that, the evidence that is required, is available, or they know how to go about fetching it, in making sure that it is done in compliance with the law. That is how we coordinate.
Listen, earlier on you're talking about the police appearing in subordinate courts. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, very well. If you look at our mandate, we only prosecute cases that are not capital offenses. Now, when you say capital offenses, we mean cases that are serious, so serious in nature, such as murder, robbery, rape. These are all cases that are referred to the High Court. So normally when we assign with cases and we notice that the nature of the offense committed is so grave that a magistrate court or subordinates cannot handle them, we refer them to the High Court. So these are cases that I have already mentioned. This came as a result of what we call the legal notice of 2009, which was issued by the then CJ, who said offenses of this nature, such as capital offenses, should be tried at the Special Criminal Division of the High Court. So the police, we only handle petty cases such as, theft, fraud-related cases, assault, and so on and so on. These are the cases that we handle before the subordinate courts. But when it comes to the capital offenses, they are all referred to the High Court.
That's it. So you become involved before charges are filed or afterwards?
No, we are involved from the very initial stage. Mm-hmm. Once they are investigated and forwarded to our office, we mention the case before a subordinate court and transfer the matter to the High Court for the State Council or the Aegis Chambers to handle it at the High Court level. That's
it. Yeah. But, your directorate of legal affairs, beyond prosecutions, what does it mean?
Beyond prosecution,
that's it.
I think beyond prosecution we do a lot in the sense that we also conduct trainings, for officers in different fields. For instance, we conduct training for CID officers. We conduct training for charge office that is at station level as to how they should go about handling their cases, especially the procedures they need to follow, how to arrest and how to detain, the rights of detainees, and so on and so on. So those are some of the things that we also do beyond our mandate as prosecutors.
Do you advise the IG?
Yes, of course. In fact, if you look at the police nowadays, most of the things that are done, the SMT or the IGP and the senior management, they don't act without the advice of the office of the, without our office being involved. So we normally advise them as to, the legal implications or the way forward, with respect to any, issue that is before the office of the IGP or the SMT.
So do you review then policies from a legal standpoint? Is that for you as well?
Of course. We also conduct reviews of some of the documents that are forwarded to our office for advice, So especially some of the obsolete laws, we always recommend that, this particular law requires a review or, an amendment sort of. For instance, if you look at the Motor Traffic Act, we came up with a lot of recommendation to say, there is a need to have a new Motor Traffic Act. And I think now, there is a bill already, which is already at an advanced stage. Very soon it will become a law.
That's it. Yeah. I wonder, though, do you also, are you involved in disciplinary matters involving police officers?
If you look at the police, we have what we call a disciplinary unit, which is headed by a CDO, a Chief Disciplinary Officer. So when disciplinary matters concerning police officers are raised, they are always directed to him, all right, for disciplinary action. But we also have a unit called Professional Standard Unit, which is manned by a commissioner called Commissioner Kinte. So this particular unit also relates to issues that involves police officers with respect to human rights violations and so on and so on. So those kind of matters are always referred to that office for disciplinary actions to be taken against the officers who are found wanting.
That's it. Yeah. So now perhaps this is one of the questions that often confuse people, because we thought that after police investigate, then the Aegis Chambers comes in. What is the relationship between this directorate and Aegis Chambers?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mboj. The Aegis Chambers is the principal state legal office. And whatever we do is coordinated, or we do it in coordination with the Ministry of Justice. For instance, if we have complex cases, we refer it to the Ministry of Justice for review. Or if we have other complex cases that requires investigation, or whatever, we consult them to guide us as to the evidence that is required in those kind of cases. And also our appeals, when we file appeals, we forward it to them for them to, act, on our behalf at the high court levels. So these are some of the things that we do. We always coordinate. In fact, we don't do anything without the consultation or in consultation with the Ministry of Justice. So it's like, they are coordinating with us with respect to all criminal matters that have been handled by the police.
That's it. So I wonder though, with prosecutors, yes, do you sometimes tell investigators
Very well.
that
We
you
guide
have
them
to go back
yes,
and get more evidence
Very well.
and that sort of thing?
Very well.
So sometimes when we listen to judgments in certain cases, people will say, oh, the police, they're always losing.
I don't think, I disagree with
You
that.
disagree
Because
with that?
if you look at the percentage, the number of cases that we secured convictions, if I am to rate it, I would say around 80% of our cases we secure convictions. And us as a prosecution, we don't go to court without evidence. Before we go to court, we make sure that we review our files to make sure that the evidence supports the charge. So I don't think that is just a saying. That is a misconception, I will call it.
Granted. But how equipped are you? Sometimes people talk about with forensics, when you see them go to the crime scene, we do not have the equipment, there's so much we do not have, which could jeopardize the case, your chances of winning.
Yeah, I think if you can recall, recently we inaugurated the forensic department. So that is a thing of the past. As of now, we have a well-equipped forensic department that is able to support all investigations that requires forensic evidence. Yeah, so for now, I will say things are going very well and they are moving smoothly.
That's it. Prosecutions, are they always about convictions?
No. Yeah, I think prosecution, the notion of having, thinking that a prosecutor, at all costs you have to secure conviction. It's not about securing conviction. It's about making sure that justice is served. That is the most important. To me, that is the guiding principle. It's not about securing a conviction, but it's about making sure that justice is served. Because we only present evidence before the court, and then the other parties also will present their evidence, and the court is there to judge and then, come out with a verdict to say, the person is found guilty or not guilty based on the evidence that is presented. So for us, it's not about, all about securing conviction at all costs. No, it's about presenting evidence, cogent and credible evidence before the court.
That's it. So before you decide who is to be prosecuted, you have an evidential test.
Very well. That is why I said the first thing that we do, we review the case file to make sure that the evidence that is in the case file supports the charge that is proffered against the accused person.
Yes. I wonder though, is there a public interest test?
Because we know the one of the aims of criminal punishment is to serve as deterrence, which is for public good. So for us, whatever we do, we are doing it in the best interest of the public.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Can a case be discontinued if new evidence emerges?
Discontinuance of cases, yes, of course, it depends. But that affects your case. It depends how you're going to approach the court. Unless you can approach the court to say, we are applying to withdraw this particular case, you can just give some excuses whilst you refer the case for further investigation based on the new evidence that are, been founded or, that are emerging from the case.
I see.
Yeah.
I wonder what you would say are some of the biggest misconceptions Gambians have about prosecutions.
I think for them, they feel that, okay, a prosecutor, one of the role is to make sure that they secure conviction at all costs. That is the misconception. It doesn't work that way. It's all about the evidence. You present your evidence, the defense also will come up with their evidence. At the end of the day, it's the court that has the final say to decide as to the evidence that is being presented by both parties or both sides. So that is just a misconception saying, okay, prosecutor, they must secure, or they always, they are always there to prosecute people or to whatever or to jail people. No, that is not our role. We are making sure that, We present evidence that is required, and the rest we leave it to the court. So we don't convict people, as many people will say, oh, prosecutor, they always convict people, they are always jailing people. We are not jailing anybody. We only present evidence before the court, and it's up to the court to decide whether the evidence is, reliable or not, or credible or not, to, secure a conviction or to find an accused person, guilty of a crime.
That's it.
Yes.
So an arrest doesn't necessarily mean that someone is guilty, isn't it?
No.
So that's it.
Arrest is like, is the fourth stage of criminal procedure. You understand? You arrest the person, and then, you inform the person as to, the crime or the offense he or she has committed. Do you understand? That is just the initial stage of criminal procedure. So when you arrest a person, you inform him or her the reasons why he or she is being arrested. As the law states, that is within 3 hours he should be informed as to why he or she is being arrested. Do you understand? Then once he is arrested, then he will be cautioned and charged. And once he is cautioned and charged, he should be arraigned before a court of law within 72 hours. Wherein, he cannot be arraigned before a court of law within 72 hours, he or she should be granted bail. Do you understand? Okay, to make sure that he appears before the court, at a particular date or time, based on the conditions of the bail.
That's it. So here, though, sometimes we see that when police go to arrest some people, or when they're trying to break up perhaps a group, sometimes they manhandle people. Do you come into it when you look at a situation, because you look at it from a legal standpoint? That's it. If you notice something that shouldn't be done, do you have within your structures mechanisms of addressing stuff like that?
Of course.
Take us through. How does it work?
So basically, if a particular issue arises and we feel that the police, acted outside or ultra-virus, we always address the issue by at least, having a kind of a session with the concerned officers to say, this is how you go about it next time. So because it's important, because in criminal procedure or in criminal offenses, you should always, whatever you do should always be done in compliance with the law. You cannot do things, outside the domains of the law. Whatever you do, it must be done in compliance. So if we observe that a particular officer or officers have done something that is not in compliance with the law, we make sure that that issue is addressed, and the officers are guided as to how they can, improve on those kind of, weaknesses.
That's it. So I wondered, I've often wondered, in a case, when a complainant withdraws, does the case automatically end?
A crime is committed against the state.
Yes.
And every crime is against the state. A complainant is just a witness in a case. But at times, people give them the opportunity, those privileges, all right, wherein they want to make peace. And we know the end result of any, of policing is to make sure that there is peace in the society. So wherein a complainant, wishes to have that compromise, we also look at the nature of the offense. It's not all cases that we allow complainants to have a say. Wherein we know that the case is so grave and serious, it's always difficult for us to give that room. But complainants, at times, we give them those privileges, but it depends on the nature of the offense, not those serious cases that we feel, no one can, meddle or fiddle with those kind of cases.
That's it. Good. So, with bail, can you please give bail and under what circumstances?
Yeah, bail, it depends on the offense committed, on the crime or on the charges that are proffered against an individual. Like if you look at all capital offenses, we don't grant any bail. You understand, like robbery, murder, rape, those kind of offenses, we don't grant bail. But these other, ordinary or minor offenses, yes, we bail the individual within 72 hours. If the person is not before the court, we grant bail with conditions.
I see. So what are the factors you take into account
before
you grant bail?
Now, the factors that we consider is the nature of the offense. If the offense, like for instance, if it is a case of theft, we look at the amount involved, the value or the amount involved. Then the bail condition will commensurate with the offense committed or with the amount involved also. For instance, if it is a case of, like, let's say, assault, we can bail the person with, let's say, 2 Gambian sorties with, a bail sum, like, let's say, 100,000 or 200,000 to be the bail sum. And now the bail sum is there as a condition to make sure that the person appears, to secure the appearance of the person. Wherein the person fails to appear, the person who served as a sortie will be called upon to produce the accused. If he or she fails and is given the opportunity to produce and he could not, then we arrange the person before a court of law for the bail sum that he or she have signed, to be forfeited for the state.
That's it. Yeah. So, just as you said earlier, only the courts really will deal with, and lawyers will deal with capital offences.
Yeah, that is the Aegis Chambers.
Aegis Chambers, isn't it?
Yes.
So, apart from that, are there any other areas where only the court can grant bail?
Yes, of course. In fact, in most cases, where the situations where we feel we cannot grant the accused person bail at our level based on maybe circumstances, we normally arrange the person before the court, and if the court so wishes to grant the person bail, that's fine. But wherein the court refuses, the person is remanded. So normally we grant bail in cases that are not complex, minor cases, but serious offenses or cases, normally we normally arrange the person before a court, and if the person is granted bail at court level, that's it. We don't have any control over the courts.
Yeah, though I wonder what rights citizens should know about when interacting with the police during investigations.
I think as citizens, we should always support the police whenever the police are conducting investigations. For instance, if a case or the police are investigating a particular case and you are needed as a witness, you should always support. You should at least volunteer to come and give a statement in that regard in order to establish. It's not about the police, it's about the country, public good. So volunteering to support the police, it's like you're not doing it for the police, but you are doing it for the general good of the Gambian people or the population. Yes.
So I wonder though, whilst investigations are going on, do you have a person there where, for instance, the police might be taking advantage of a suspect or whatever? Somebody would say, no, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. For instance, do you have a right to remain silent? We do.
Yes, of course. That is a constitutional right.
That's it. But if you don't, we all know the practicalities. Maybe you will get hit. Is there anybody around who would make sure that you follow procedure, follow the rules?
Very well. Very well. In fact, this is something that is known by all police officers today. They know that they are not supposed to, torture any accused person to confess to a crime or so. That is a thing of the past. That is not applicable anymore in our context as a police institution. I don't think you have ever heard of a situation where people allege that they have been tortured by the police. I don't think that is happening now. That is a thing of the past.
Yes, it's just that when they come to arrest you.
No. Even at arrest,
for instance, with that Omar Baji case, for instance.
At arrest stage, that is a case of something that I don't want to comment on. That is something that happened, so it is still under investigation. So
well, the coroner's report.
Yes.
We got something from the coroner's report.
So something that is under investigation, I don't comment, and it is a matter that is yet to be concluded. So I don't want to comment on that. But what I do know, as a matter of fact, all right, police officers, even at arrest stage, they are not supposed to torture or assault anybody. All that they do, they will inform you that you are under arrest, and what is also expected of the person is to comply with the police officers. Wherein the person resists arrest, the police under the law are also mandated to use reasonable force to make sure that the person is arrested.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just that people worry. We've got all the rules and the laws. Everything is there, as we see in other areas. It's just that when it comes to practice, practically on the ground, what operates. So one would expect each institution to make sure that you have your oversight mechanism in place so that the staff, the police, will subject themselves to the law.
That is why I made mention of this professional standard unit, which deals with matters of human rights violations. So if a particular complainant or accused feels that he or she has been mishandled by the police, which violates his or her rights, he or she has a right to go to the complaint and disciplinary unit, we call it the professional standard unit, and lodge a complaint against that particular officer or officers. And then that unit will look into the matter to investigate, to make sure that what is being said, whether it is true or not. If the officers are found wanting, they will recommend to the office of the IGP, and probably the officer may be reprimanded.
That's it.
Yes.
I wonder, what are the biggest challenges facing police prosecutors today?
Oh my goodness. We have a lot of challenges at hand, and one of the challenges is, securing witnesses before the court. We all know that is an attitude. I don't know, it's a misconception. Most Gambians, once you invite them or you call them as witnesses in court, they always have that phobia in them. So that is one of the main challenges. Securing witnesses in court is a challenge. You will call a witness to come before the court, they will give you excuses, and it affects your case. The other challenge is adjournments, delay in cases. We have a lot of delay in cases due to adjournments, and that is not the making of the court also, or neither the prosecution, because the courts are also, overwhelmed with a lot of cases, and they have to deal with all those cases. So those, those things cause a lot of delay, in our cases. And the other thing also is the issue of, training. Those are all challenges, because we have other officers who are not lawyers, and at least, having adequate, having those training will also enhance their capacity. But lack of training or adequate training is also another challenge that we are faced with.
That's it. Deputy Commissioner, very quickly, if there's one thing you want Gambian people to know about the role of police prosecution, what message would it be? Quickly. The
message will be, we are here for the Gambian people and in the best interest of the country. We want the public to support us. Whenever they are needed as witnesses in court, they should always make sure that they volunteer and support us in proving our cases against accused persons. And also maybe that is a general advice. We should make sure that we report crimes. Because that is a challenge. Most people will see a crime being committed, but they will not report crimes. Or if they will suspect that someone is about to commit a crime, and they will still keep mute. So it is a duty on us as good citizens to make sure that we report crimes, or whether they are committed or they are about to be committed, where you suspect, please go to the nearest police station or to authorities and report. So I will encourage people to take up that responsibility, because crime prevention is not it's not only the responsibility of the police, it's a collective responsibility. It's a responsibility of both the police and the community. So we should work, hand in glove to make sure that, we prevent crime in our communities. So in so doing, they should always make sure that they report crimes to the police. Wherein they suspect, they should come to the police and report.
Deputy Commissioner Malang Jarju, thank you very much for joining us and helping us understand, the role of the police and the legal directorate, as it were.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we've come to the end of this program, so stay informed, know your rights, fulfill your responsibilities, and remember, an informed citizen is an empowered citizen. Thank you very much. Until next time, I'm Mudumboji. Goodbye.